Well, we know that his work with the less fortunate is what he really lives on, and greeting them, or greeting the Pope, is also 200 people, members of the Brooklyn Diocese, that were able to get that special invitation to join their bishops and archbishops to welcome the Pope there. And it definitely will hold special meaning, I'm sure, for Pope Francis.
Now, there are no remarks planned, but you never know with this pontiff because he's about spontaneity. Dick Brennan, you're right there. He's coming towards you.
It's pretty extraordinary right now. He's moving toward the crowd, and his face is absolutely beaming. He's seemingly enjoying this. The band is playing, and he's heading over to a crowd of people. For one, there's a disabled man who's about 15 years old who wanted the Pope to come and talk to him, as a man with cerebral palsy, and I think that's where he's walking over to right now. A number of people who are right along the gate line are people who want a blessing and needs the Pope's prayers. People who are sick. Some people, there was at least one person who was homeless. There was a gentleman who was lying on a stretcher, and as I said, he has cerebral palsy, and he said, if only I could be touched by the Pope. And this is that magical moment that so many of these people came for. And not a lot of them are looking for a selfie or a fist bump or a shake. A lot of them really want something from the pontiff, a miracle in some cases, because their lives have been so devastated. But they say, many of them, when I talked to them earlier, said this is one of the best days of their lives.
Dick, how close are you, and tell me what that's like?
I'd say right now I'm about 100 feet. I'm behind a large group of people, but I will step up and get a better view because why not? And I can tell you what's interesting now is the pontiff has waded into the crowd, and he's moving much more slowly than we've seen him do before. This almost looks like some of the stuff he does in Vatican Square, where he moves slowly, he talks to people, and he engages them. We've seen on other lines, particularly some of them in Washington, D.C., where he was sort of gliding along. But I think he's sort of caught up in the moment. As I said to you, many of the people he's coming to now are people who are desperately in need of his care. People who have issues, they have health issues. Some of them are old, and they say they're in pain and they're suffering. And remember, this pontiff says that his pontificate is all about helping the suffering, if only to come by. We've seen some stories in the last few days of what happened when John Paul was here, and he touched people, and it changed their lives for literally decades to come. But right now, he just seems absolutely engaged and very much enjoying his first taste of New York City.
And we can feel it through the screen, to tell you the truth, Dick. You can tell he's touching lives right now. These are moments that will live forever in the hearts of the people he's touching right now. We should point out that he is moving slowly. Yes, he's 78, but he's also got a case of sciatica. And anybody who's had back trouble and that shooting pain down the leg, you know what that's about. It kind of makes it tough to get around, but you have to marvel at his stamina, his strength, his fortitude, pushing through all this despite any minor ailments.
Well, you also have to remember when he was younger, he became very ill and had to get part of his lung removed. And it saved his life by having that operation, but it does impede a lot of his actions. And sometimes when you hear him speaking softly, a lot of people attribute that soft-spokenness because he had to have that surgery and he has that condition. Now, as excited as everyone is, security has been a big concern here to make sure that the Pope is at his safest during his entire visit here to New York City. And it's been a joint effort by the Secret Service, the Vatican Police, the NYPD, FBI. And you can see some of those representatives there scanning the crowd, making sure that everything is okay. But I have to say, the Pope does not shun anyone away. He wants to reach out. And security, I think, is the last thing on his mind. Would you agree, Dr. Norton?
And I think that's exactly to your point about security and the need for it and for their concern for the Holy Father as well they tribute. But he doesn't have that kind of concern. He never brings that concern with him. He believes he's serving in Christ's name, which of course he is, and he believes that the Lord will take him, protect him, help him, strengthen him, give him all that he needs in every trip that he takes. And you can see this looking right at your screen right now. He is the pastor. He is the priest who is greeting his people. They are in Buenos Aires. They are in New York, and they're in everywhere else in the world. But there's the priest, there's the pastor.
Dick Brennan, how close are you now?
He's walking a little further away, but I'm getting a little closer because I've got a little longer cable on my camera. I can tell you we've seen some things that he's done that weren't always apparent on what was happening on camera. He gave very broad hugs to a few people in the crowd, something we had not seen before, and he seems to be engaging in longer conversations. Remember, he is 78 years old. His English is not great, but when I was walking along this line before, I encountered a number of people who were speaking Italian, so it's quite possible that he's engaging the people in the language that he's comfortable with. And now he speaks very good Italian and speaks very good English.
Dick, I don't know if you can see that, but someone just gave him, is that a bobblehead?
It looked like a stuffed animal. It looked like one of those, stuffed dolls.
And he's real practiced at taking gifts and sort of handing them to his handlers and thanking people for them, and that's what he's done right there as he's being ushered away. Looks like he's going to get into a vehicle. Go ahead, Dick.
I could just tell you that little girl he stopped by to talk to, I spoke to her earlier. She's a teenager, and she lost her ability to walk. And she told me that her mother also told me that all she wanted was a touch from the Pope because they have no idea what's wrong with her. So it appears that she did get her wish for the day, and we all, of course, pray that she gets the miracle she needs.